Um, it felt like a workout. Like mentally, I was so fatigued because it's a lot. Because it's active. You're either talking or you're listening. And so.
Yeah, it's very active.
Clean all this crap up.
You got any new thoughts in these?
Yeah, a little bit actually.
Yeah.
But suit up.
Let's go. Got the Captain America shirt on and everything.
Yeah. Last time I was in here, I was with Jesse. Oddly enough, that's when I saw you that one time. Just lost your headphones.
Do they tighten? Maybe if I put them.
That's, I think, as small as they get.
Oh,
Do you have a small
I
head?
have a tiny head. Like the tiniest.
Do you want
head.
to switch headphones then?
No,
Will
this
they
is
fall?
Good.
That's
no,
good.
It's good.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
Okay.
One time me and my friends were at a cabin in Idaho, and my head was so small that when we went through like all the cowboy hats that were there,
Okay.
I had to use the child's cowboy hat. It's really embarrassing.
So you have a small head
I have a really small head.
naturally then.
Naturally, yeah.
Huh.
It's just a thing. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
You can't really do nothing about it. But testing. 1, 2, 3.
Testing, making sure the levels are good.
Yeah.
You're a little bit quieter, I feel like.
I feel like I am.
Just a bit.
A little bit. Speak up a little bit.
What's been, I guess, hard in the moment but good for the future, as you described it?
Nah.
Is that not?
That's a really good question, but
Is that what like you're feeling right now though?
yeah, well there's a couple different things, right? So there's some stuff that's going on that's like just like a lot of work, but I know it's going to be worth it, you know, sort of a thing, or like good things are happening, but it's just going to take a little bit of readjusting.
Can you expand on those more?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like switching schools and job searching again, and then moving back home, like those types of things where it's just like it's going to be interesting. But, and then there's just other stuff going on that's like,
you don't want to talk about?
Yeah, that's personal.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
That, you know, derails you.
Okay.
So,
but
yeah.
Well, like, I guess, like, just to attack one of them, like the school thing, I'm personally, I feel like I can compartmentalize things pretty well. So maybe I just have this tendency and it's a little different for you. But for me, it'd just be like, I'm just taking classes in a different room. I'm still in the same town. Maybe my commutes are a little bit different, but other than that, for me, like I can still be on the CSU's campus and be with friends and stuff like that. So at least in my head, picturing that situation by itself, it doesn't seem too earth-shattering, you know?
Yeah, definitely not. I'm actually really excited.
Okay, why?
I'm really excited. Well, first of all, it makes so much more sense. It's going to be
like
so
financially?
much cheaper. Yeah, like it's stupid. It's ridiculous. So, but I think it was good for me to come to CSU the first semester. Or the first year, I mean, because it was like my dream school, and it was this big step for me. I was the first person out of all my friends, and I'd like to go to college. So it was, you know, and I met some really cool people that I get to live with next year. So, but I'm really excited because it's going to be like new people that I can meet and a new campus to explore, and I love that. I love stuff like that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. It's just trying to figure everything out is a little bit overwhelming with like trying to get the correct credits and meeting with them, but then you can't meet with them until you actually have gotten accepted, so then you have to apply. So it's just like a weird like thing with on top of finals. Feels like a lot, but I'm really stoked about it. It's gonna be really good.
So you're gonna live in an apartment with friends when you come back?
No, we actually got a house.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice. So you already got that straightened out?
We're renting, me and 2 other friends.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Where
it's super
where
cute. It's on Shields and LaPorte.
Okay.
So it's just
Nice.
like north.
Nice.
Yeah. It's super cute.
Yeah, for me, I went to community college first and then came to university or CSU. And so for me at the time, I didn't have any like high hopes for college at all. So it just was like, what's next? And it was kind of closer. It was kind of cheaper. It was, I guess, like mentally feasible in a way as well. Like CSU felt more farther off at that point in my life for me, even though it was like 3.5 hours away, which relatively is like small distance wise compared to a lot of different things, you know. But like I enjoyed it, and the smaller community college is nice, you know, especially like for somebody that tries like you do, which is like a low bar, I know, but like there's a smaller crowd, and so you can kind of network easier, and then also like just get into little groups in a different way. For me, I was coming from a small school and then got into like a bigger school for me, but like relatively smaller, like community college. But for me, it was just like a step up. And it was at the same time I was like looking into like the self-improvement space and stuff like that. So it was a good, like, I got to kind of write my own script a bit and like change the parts of myself maybe from high school I didn't so much like or wanted to improve on. And so I was able to kind of change my script and then also be in a new place. So for me, and for you, it's a little different because now you're already here. So the situations are a little bit different, but I guess I'm just trying to connect my situation to it as well.
For sure. What parts would you say that you wanted to change about yourself that you found changing when you went to community college?
I mean, there's definitely not like one time in my life where I could point to this like 1 millisecond and be like, this is when the switch flipped. It was all like gradual changes and like slowly just getting a better idea of what it meant to be, I don't know if like higher functioning is the word, but just like being more confident, being better in different things that I liked to do, being better in school, being better at working out, being better interpersonally with people, being better at speaking to a group of people, you know, stuff like that. Being better to organize my own personal self, you know. And it was just gradually like, once I like found the space, I was like, oh, there's books on teaching you how to be better, which is funny because like, I don't know, some people would think like we don't need any of that stuff, you know. We maybe start out with everything we need and we just need to live to whatever makes us happy. But it's like not necessarily. You kind of want to listen to some other people outside of your scope of practice. You want to try different things that maybe you hate, you know. Like I did not like speaking, and now here I am trying to start a podcast.
That's cool.
Trying to push my like mental brain of how long I can hold a conversation and not fail at talking to the person at the same time. You know, like trying to push the limit of that. And because like in high school I never wanted to speak to people necessarily. I liked one-on-ones with people, and that's kind of I think why this is like an evolution of that, where it is one-on-ones. But like when the second time me and Jesse got on, we were hitting on some good heavy stuff, and then in between one of them we started talking about the weather. And I noticed it, and I just looked at him and I was like, I'm bored as fuck right now talking to you. And I know that this can be better because we have deeper things to talk about. But also like the things were so heavy, we needed something light to just kind of like catch our breath almost and get back into it. So, yeah, I think that's like one of the things is, and I kind of gotten on a tangent at this point, but is like, I don't care for the casual talk of like, oh, the weather's like this. Oh, this politician's doing that. Traffic was a mess today. It's not, it's like
really exhausting.
That's gonna,
honestly.
it is.
It's really tiring.
And there's like a lot more pressing issues that are meaningful to us at the moment right now.
Yeah.
Especially at that point in my life where it was like, I'm like nowhere near what my potential is. And I don't even know what that is. You know, it's just something you try to, I guess, work towards, you know? And so once I kind of stumbled upon, like I have something within me I can try and chase, I'm trying to constantly maintain this nice feedback cycle of constantly, I guess, improving, you know? I will fail and I won't say the right things at certain times and do the right things, but at least like you try to get it right, you know, and act as if there's something higher than you to work towards. Yeah.
For sure. And failure is a part of growth.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
fundamentally.
Yeah. Yeah, like I asked many questions of somebody yesterday that were inaccurate, and then they just nicely corrected me, and then I'm back on the right track, you know. And so those were all very micro failures in the scheme of things, but then it aligned to have a better, straightforward conversation between us two in dialogue, you know.
Yeah.
So and it's almost, I'd have to think about this more, but it's like it's almost quicker and easier to fail, because then you get the answer and you can act on that, change it, and then move forward. But like, what I like about this and these discussions is these are all maybe ideas I've had like randomly by myself, listening to a podcast or a song, or just walking without any audio in my ears. But then at best, I'll write it down, and then it's gone in a sense that it's out of my mind. But with this, it's actually like I get to bounce something off of you. You can bounce something off of me. And if it's good enough, I would like to cut it up and then put it out so that it's more digestible for people. Yeah. So that's what's cool. I think about this.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the amount of times that, like, hopefully people, I know you and me, are on walks or doing things, and like our brain is just going. Those thoughts are never really seen by other people.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope like this provides value to people, is hearing these things, because then more people will listen. And my hope is that the more people that are listening, the more value they're getting, is my goal with, I guess, any pursuit I have, you know.
Yeah.
The greater the crowd I can draw, hopefully that's on the virtue of the quality that's coming out of my mouth at that point, you know. Yeah. That's what my hope would be.
Yeah.
And because like some people will I don't know, try to draw an emotional reaction maybe out of people that isn't necessarily helpful. Maybe it is in certain respects, you know, but I guess that's not necessarily something I'm wired to go for. I guess I want to just kind of like lay everything out there and let's just go through everything. And so it's more meticulous, but I think it's a better tact to get things settled and done. Because it takes, I guess, the emotion out of it. It takes our monkey brain out of it, and it just kind of, you have to take a reality for what it is. You can't lie to reality, because if anything, you lie to reality enough and it'll whop you back, you know, at a certain point. It's just, and a lot of people don't understand that, I feel like, because it just plays out on a time scale, you know. That's the thing, is like the...
So going deeper to that. The time scale idea.
Like if you, especially back when it was easier to like rob a bank, you could get away with it. And maybe 3 seconds after you got away with it, you're away with it. But give it a year, give it 5 years, give it 10 years. It's going to catch up with you in some way, you know. Especially like negative actions. That's what we at least hope for. And I think that's how, for the most part, there's always a reaction to things. And so that energy is always going to carry out whatever you put into the world. And so like I'm not Christian, but like the Bible kind of has a nice motif on this, where the story of Cain and Abel, where Cain slays Abel, and that doesn't get into what sort of life Cain led after he killed his brother, but what it does get into is that his descendants feel the consequences of that, which is very interesting. And I forget how many generations down the line, and I hope I'm not butchering this story, but at a certain point, one of his generations, I think the quote is like, develops weapons of mass destruction, you know? So it's like, these things that we do right now have waves that we won't feel ever in our lives, but they will be felt by possibly our other descendants, you know? And it's true, because like we're riding off the backs of what our ancestors did.
100%.
So like just the fact of us being here attests to that. being a reality. And so if you put like, what didn't one of the presidents of founding fathers put like just like a penny or something in the bank, and then like maybe this was just a thought experiment or something like that, but it's still like whatever was true. Like if you put $10 in the bank right now and just let it accrue interest, $10 is a very small amount right now, but if you let that just get 10,000 years on it and an economy doesn't crash, then your descendants down the road have something like that. So so like what you can think about that, and this is something this is an idea I guess I've been trying to connect together, is that is in a form of potential energy, that money in the bank. And so these different things we have, it's either in potential energy where it's getting stored, and at some point it's got to burst or seep out or get out at some point. And then that will be kinetic energy in the flow of things. And so, and I think that like works in many different ways, like especially how active I am. If I took a full week off and just sat and slept and worked on my computer, I would feel a lot of pent up energy, of a lot of this physical energy that would need to get out. And it's cool to really think of it in this sense where it's going to get out eventually. You might as well channel it into something that's productive, the best that you have control over, which is me climbing, going to the gym, all these things that make me tired and sleep a little better at night. But if I didn't do that, then I would start to get a little bit quicker with people. I'd start to get a little bit more angry. I'd get a little bit more testy. I want to have as much time or patience on people and stuff like that. And so it's going to seep out whether you like it or not. It's just, do you want to choose how it comes out, or do you want it to come out? Yeah. You know?
Super accurate.
Yeah. I feel like I just went on a rant, but.
Yeah, you did. It was really good. It was really good. Yeah, that's totally true. I think for me specifically as an introvert, if I notice that I don't take enough time for myself, that totally happens. Yeah.
And it's not, and energy, it's just like, we think of it as something active, but it's just like, it's just like a force almost, you know? And so like even the act of sitting alone is a act of energy. It's an act of doing something.
For real. Yeah.
Like you have to try to do nothing, you know? If you like did the best of your ability, actually nothing, like sat still, didn't think of anything, all of that stuff, didn't feel the air on your skin and everything like that, then that's actually really hard to do. If you think about doing true nothing. You know,
I've tried. I'm really bad at it. I can't do it.
But
terrible.
So yeah, like you might have this, and it's a different sort of pent up energy where you get a lot of this. It's always just easier to think of like tight coils in your body, and it depends on how different things are wired and the hardware basically that's involved. And for you, it gets, that tension gets released when you're by yourself. It sounds like, you know. Yeah.
I think definitely by myself, and then also I think the past like 2 years I've learned with very specific people the tension also gets released. You know. Yeah.
Do you know what that is like at play?
Well, to be honest, I think it was like I didn't discover good people until then. So then it was like, whoa, this is like, I really like being with them. This is cool, you know? So that, I think that really played a role into it. And then also like discovering someone who understands you and like loves you despite, you know, but also just has the same values as you, you know, you can just be with them and it's so natural. Like, there's no pressure to do anything, but you all want to do stuff. So you end up, you know, it's just great. It's great. Finding people like that is tough, but it's like amazing.
Yeah. We're kind of talking about that. I think
we were talking about that. Yeah. You feel like you don't have a ton of those people right now at this point?
I guess I haven't put enough thought on it to give like anything definitive, but I definitely see like, it's hard to find many people that do think, even just like have the same like idea of what life should be like right now, I guess,
Oh,
which
yeah.
might be values. I don't know, but that's a better word I think for it, is just like what life should look like. And like to me, those things are like having enough active time and then also having enough rest time. And then in between that, there's two things: putting time into a job to sustain yourself right now, because I don't think many people our age are doing work that they truly, truly love, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
just doing that to be able to sustain yourself, because we got to eat at the end of the day. But then in those few hours you have left, that, and you fed your body and you fed your almost mind in the recovery of sleep and nutrition and stuff like that, you have a little bit of time left to do kind of whatever you want. And I think I can do all that other stuff by myself pretty well. I can hit the gym well. I can get to bed on a good time, and I can go to work on myself. I don't need somebody to wake me up. But like that time is better spent usually with other people, you know? And I don't want to do it at 12 o'clock at night at a bar necessarily. Like maybe once a month, but like not consistently.
Yeah.
Because it always bleeds into my next day, and I like having my mornings be productive and my middays be somewhat productive. And then so finding people that want to set their days up like that, so that like we can do this, we can ride in tandem basically. I want to get more of, and like setting these up is nice, but it's more setting these conversations up is nice, but it's more of a then it's like a scheduling thing, and it feels like almost like a meeting, even though like you get into it and it's casual and we're just talking.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, like you have to text a lot of people. There's a big like booking issue, you know, so it's not as organic, you know. Like a couple weeks ago I was talking to somebody and I was like, I really envy like the show How I Met Your Mother or Friends. Have you watched either of those?
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother had the bar and Friends had a coffee shop. And it was just like they got done with their work. They didn't like hit the gym, but they got done with what they needed to do and what they wanted to do, whereas like go shopping or whatever they personally wanted to do, cook their food and stuff like that. And then their free time, they just went, for some of them, I think it was like downstairs, and they had a coffee shop down there. And whenever anybody was free, they would be down there, you know? And you get into habits like that, and so you can start your day with the same people, you know, and have this like almost, I mean, they made it, it's fictional, but they made a TV show around it where they were able to stitch their lives together through that coffee shop and their interactions. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So I kind of envy that in a sense where like, I wouldn't mind being able to do a 10-hour shift at work, and because then I know when I get off I could like go downstairs from my bed and be with people until I wanted to go to bed. And it's more convenient, you know, that's a part of it, but then at the same time, that's where like I have many ideas where like I have issues in my head that outweigh them, but like I would love to have a life as like a city planner, where you could like plan a city in the sense of like almost a campus. Like I really miss the time here, because a lot of my friends lived in the same hall, and so it was like a 5-10 minute walk to get our food. Anytime anybody was off work, we could just keep our door open and anybody could come in when we wanted to have people over. So it was just a lot easier, you know. And it wouldn't be hard to set something up like this as once you got the infrastructure in place. And we wouldn't have to forego many of those, because I put some thought into it. You wouldn't have to forego some of those things that we like as Americans, which is like our car. We could have a parking lot on the outside of town and just a bus system that gets you there if you needed to drive 3 hours away. So all that stuff would still exist. And then at the same time, you're not putting wear and tear on your car or anything like that, or worrying about gas. Interesting. And it's a little bit more healthier because you're walking everywhere. Yeah. Which there's a lot of positive benefits to walking in general. So health would get us at least a 1% bump in that, which is enough.
Set up good bikes,
yeah, or just and I didn't mind necessarily having a roommate, but you could even just have almost pods in a sense or something like that, or an apartment structure basically, you know. And then you just be able to walk either to the store if you want to cook in your place, or walk to restaurants. And like I don't know. That's something I had
super
thought.
community
You know,
based.
yeah. And it's not some like I guess you would think what are the counters to that, and I think like it might feel isolating to people, but I think it would be easy to support, like I said, like a bus system to your car if you wanted to travel to another town or city. I think, but having more of the resources of what you wanted in your little, I think of it as almost like pods, I guess, at this point, of your little town pod. Like if Old Town was basically walking distance from everybody's apartment, you know, or place of stay. And if you wanted a residential house, you would just have to be on the periphery maybe, and then there's just more transit centers, you know, like I don't think it would be hard. And once you sort of just adjust it a little bit to it, I think a lot of people would like it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like a side life.
Far out there idea, yeah. I think that could be really cool. Although I think if you were just able to really focus on public transport, like really dive into that and make that working well, beautiful, super helpful for people, then I don't think the car issue would be as much of an issue as it is. Yeah. Because I can see a lot of problems coming up with like, oh, you have to take a bus to your car. People would be like, no, like I have the right to have my car where I am so I can go when I want to go, you know? But if you really focus on making the public transport like kind of like it is in Europe, just because they use it so much, it's insane, then I feel like people wouldn't gravitate to their cars so much, you know? Yeah,
I don't know. It's a you'd have to get down into it to really figure out what works, you know?
You really would.
But like, I don't know, just looking at how campus is set up, you know, it already sort of works like that. Yeah. Like, you're doing that right now with no car, 100%, you know, and living your life nice and good and meeting people, and you get your food here and everything like that, you know, so. It
is nice, though, because some of my friends have their car right in this parking lot. It's, like, just right there. Yep. And we never use it when we're on campus and stuff, but we can walk there in 10 minutes, go wherever we want. So, but, yeah, I mean, the campus life is, if you are built for it, it's really awesome. It's really awesome.
Built for it in what way?
Well, like.
To be social?
Yeah. Because, like, I know my two roommates, they really struggle with, like, getting to know people, you know? I feel like there are a lot of people like that.
We talked about this a bit last time.
Yeah. Did we? We did.
Yeah. My take a bit.
I do know your take.
Ruthlessly summed up, it would be get over your crap and let's go get out, you know? I know there's a lot more to that, and you can be a lot more compassionate once you have the person in front of you. But that's the gist, you know, because we already kind of went over some of that in the previous one, but there's a lot more benefits to getting over that. It's kind of to connect back to what I was saying earlier. I hated talking to people. I hated public speaking. I hated all this. If I knew things I was saying was getting recorded and then putting up for anybody to look at, even though nobody's looking at these right now, but still, in all the same, that would have terrified me. But I got better at talking, and I got better at writing, which got me better at organizing my thoughts. And I read a little bit, which gave me something to talk about. Yeah. And got interested in things that interested me, and those interests are going to be different for everybody, so you get a nice little unique piece to yourself. And then you can go out and share something with somebody. And people are so afraid to be limited, but that's what's cool about it, is we're all so limited that I can sit down with anybody in front of me. That's why I like having anybody on and just talk about anything, because I don't know everything, you know? Yeah. So it's almost, it would be boring if you knew everything.
100%.
Nothing would be fun. It's good to not know anything and be the Joker. Almost at certain points. Like, I bet there's things you know that you could tell me that I'm a total idiot in, and that's okay. Like, people just need to understand that that's okay, and that's kind of, there's almost a beauty in that, because that's why we rely on each other. No one piece of the puzzle is the puzzle, you know, and any piece that worries that it's not going to be able to fit in its space is worrying about something that won't help them at all, you know.
That's where I think. Oh no, continue your thought.
I was just gonna say, fulfill your role, because whatever coordinates in the puzzle you're gonna be is gonna be different than somebody right next to you, and so you can still fill your role in this great picture we have, and we can just interlock together and fulfill our different potentials.
Yeah. I love what you said, where one puzzle piece isn't the puzzle, because I think that's where it comes into play. Like, for some people, yeah, like you, the way you're wired, you could just be like, I'm gonna pick myself up, and I'm gonna start cracking into it. I'm gonna get a better person. I'm gonna dive into this and find my coordinates, as you would say. And then I think there are other people who they need, like, they need the other puzzle pieces, you know, like, to be like, hey, like, get out, like, let's go, let's do this. They need to be shown, like, that love, and then that'll kickstart it. Yeah. There's just not enough people that care about other people these days. Like, what happened? Maybe it was never a thing, but
I didn't get to the place I'm at by myself, though.
See, there it is.
That's the thing. I drew off so many different people that I could probably spend the whole session just naming names of everybody that, like, affected me. And what's also a really cool thing that nobody gives credit to is even the wrong sources have a teaching mechanism to them as well. And so I feel like if you're doing it right, you can learn anything from anything if you're navigating right, you know? Yeah. And that's where, like, sometimes we're blind and we're stupid and are stuck in our head and have our head buried down and just don't listen at all and don't learn, and that gets us all, anybody at any point. It's definitely gotten me, but the more times out of 10 that you can flip that on its head and learn something from it, and then incorporate into yourself what aligns with you, the better you're going to be. And if you do all that work and find something and it doesn't fit for you, then don't force it in, you know.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people keep their head down. Yeah. What's something you keep your head down to? We all got stuff, right?
Yeah. And it is to say, and you're right, you're not, I don't know if you're getting at this, but, like, at a certain point you have to not listen and just kind of go, because there's a balance to things. And so if you're listening, then you're not speaking. And, like, if you take the idea of a conversation, if you're only listening, then the person's going to frown at you at a certain point because you're not adding anything to the conversation, you know. So there's a time to listen and there's a time to speak. I guess to add a little bit more detail, what I'm getting at is when we're younger, like we are right now, it's the best time to listen more and then to try a little bit and to feel those failures. And I think one thing you said you kind of related to is that you need to have people around you to help you identify whether that was a failure of something that doesn't align with you or a failure of inexperience, and you just needed to put more work into it. I think that might be one of the main issues for people our age in general, is that we don't have the experience, so we don't know how to identify what is something that isn't wired for us and what is something we are wired for. We're just inexperienced. And I think those two feelings get muddled. And that's just also, you need proper, like, leadership and modeling and guidance to help you kind of get through that and try to find what synergizes best with you. So there is a element of, you need either good parental figures or just model figures in general. Like we said, you need to rely on other puzzle pieces, especially older puzzle pieces almost. But I think this is all also hitting on a lot of different ideas. Hopefully this makes sense, but also it's all under the script that you have to try, you know. So trying to connect it back to your friends, you have to get out of your room. And kind of what we were talking about earlier, if you can get out of your room and get to class in a way that makes you a little uncomfortable but makes you stronger in the end, I say you're onto something there.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely, yeah. That's you got to try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say my friends definitely do get out of their rooms, and they push themselves out of their comfort zones so much that it's inspired me. Like coming to this school was, I mean, I talk to some people about it, just the way that I've seen people come to this school despite of so many things they knew they'd face, and they are facing. It's really amazing. But then also, I would argue that, like, yeah, we really, a lot of, like, I think younger people sometimes are ignorant to the older people and all that stuff. So yeah, we definitely need to listen, particularly to them. But I would also argue that anyone at any age should listen to any age, you know? Like, I think a lot of older people can learn stuff from younger people, and younger people from their peers. And like, I think that's crucial, like crucial, just because, so many reasons: generational gaps, new ideas, different people thinking different things, like different perspectives, like backgrounds, histories, like all of it comes into play. And so someone who has gone through this one thing and has that experience and is older than you can really help you, you know, but then maybe in a different area you can help them. So it's all kind of like seeking guidance where it's applied, you know?
Yeah. We kind of what you said made me think about was what I was talking to somebody that was on the podcast yesterday. They had a couple topics that they in particular wanted to bring up, which was fun.
That's
and
cool.
One was I'm gonna butcher the terminology, but it's like complementarianism in the Christian religion, and it probably is in other religions as well. But the idea is a man has a certain role and a woman has a certain role that will complement each other when they're both doing it right. And I was trying to identify with her what that looks like for the man and what that looks like for the women, because there's a generality you can kind of try to cast from it. And one thing, and I hope I don't butcher this, but it's the marriage between a man and woman should imitate the relationship of the church with Jesus Christ.
Interesting.
And so, and she would be better at speaking it on it than me.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of the church should almost follow the steps and listen to the word of Jesus, and the Jesus should almost lead. And so there's a bit of a submission role when it comes to the church, and that leads to more of a submission role in women, and is what that, I guess, leads to in the end. How was I connecting this to what you're saying, though? There's a bit where I agree with you that adults can take learning experiences from children, especially because they're looking at, I think what adults can learn, and what I've heard when I've listened to people talk about interactions with their kids, is they get a look at the world through fresh eyes. And so a dad that's a surfer, when they take their son out surfing, they get because they've been doing it for at least 2-3 decades or whatever, they get to see it, and you get to a certain extent habitualized to even the things you love, you know? And so you take your son out and you get to see it through fresh eyes of like, oh yeah, it was hard for me to balance. Oh yeah, you have to correct when the waves are like this, or oh yeah, when the weather's like this, it's perfect. And I remember how thrilled I was to go out when the weather was like this. So you can definitely like get connected back with your old self with nostalgia. I think that's something to learn, and that curiosity. But then what you're saying made me think of is that at the same time, and more times out of 10, the child almost needs to be the church in that sense and submit a bit to that authority figure. And what we were getting at is that what she was definitely detailing was that the authority needs to be taken respectfully first. And in a marriage sense, that's by the man usually. and then the submission should come from the wife. And you can identify what we went over was when and this is just in a Christian context, I guess we're going through, but it is helpful to kind of run through is, you know, that the man is at a balance when either he is not taking up his responsibility or he is maybe taking up responsibility but wielding it in a way that fears and harms others. And so the balance is taking that responsibility but wielding it correctly in a way that actually helps people and leads them.
Okay.
And that's when it's taken up correctly. And I think that can be cast well onto like a parental role as well.
Yeah.
And then,
sure,
or
actually.
a modeling role as well for like a youth that might not have strong family connections or something like that as well. This would be applicable for. And then for that almost submissive role, you need to have a side of you that listens well to that authority figure and doesn't rebel, but then at the same time does a good job of sifting through the poor choices of the leader, because as humans we'll always make slip-ups, but then having the know-how to select for good leaders as well. And so, and being in the, and I wish I could ask her this question now, being in that submissive position kind of robs you of the power, but the power you do have, I think, is you get to choose who you enslave yourself to. And enslave is a very potent word. But what I mean by that is we're always going to be taking in information.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so just choosing those leaders or those sources, or also you have the information coming into you, and then also you can put up a lens or a filter that might help whatever information you're putting into as well. So how you sift through that as somebody, because listening in itself is almost a submissive act, because you're allowing somebody to put their own sort of programming into you. And whether you use that programming or not is your choice, you know. And like what we were talking about with like words, where happiness and joy and meaning mean different things to us. Once we identified that, I was able to put almost a filter over every time you said joy for me, so that when I heard that, I heard meaning and it was on the same page with you still. So we can do and it's a complex thing to do, and it takes a lot of understanding. But like when I listen to political takes, so I have somewhat of an idea on the world, I know when I'm going to like a conservative channel, I put a little bit of a conservative filter on, where I'm like, okay, these guys are going to be of the conservative view. And then when I go to more of a leftist page, I'm like, these guys are going to be of the leftist view. And I can take the information in, and hopefully some of that filter, I don't know, traps some of the ideology away from it, and then I can get some information. And especially if you're taking it from two sources, then if they hit on 2 points the same way and it's both filtered, then the content you're getting is good, you know. So
filtering out the bias.
Yeah. So if a wife was to take authoritative statements from, well, first, if you're taking this from a Christian's perspective, you should first take that from your man. But then just by nature of living, you're going to hear things from other men, and you can still synthesize and put together whether this was a good information source you're getting it from, or whether maybe your man is off balance, or maybe your teacher's off balance, or maybe your information source in general is off balance. If that all makes sense.
Yeah, that does. And it makes a lot of sense with the child and the model or parent or guardian, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely in those younger years when you're forming like so quickly and so fastly, you really need that. Like, you really do. I think that's a great model actually for it. I think once you get a little bit older and you start you're still young, like kind of where we are, and even maybe a little bit younger, you start to form your own ideas, your own, you know, ways of thinking, your own experiences. And that's where I think multiple people can learn from multiple, you know, like that's where I think there's a little bit more leeway in the age and experience level. But definitely from when you're a child, I mean, you can tell when someone had that in their young life and when someone didn't. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Having someone who took that role, what not the child role, the authoritative role well, yeah, and didn't abuse it, but also like was like, yeah, okay, I have this power, I need to use it well.
I think the older you get, the more you could have cross-pollination between people of similar ages or experience levels. But I think, again, while maybe there's a better ratio that you can learn more from people at that age, I think there's always somebody to look up to, I guess. And there's always something that's either better than you or something above you.
Which isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. That's so, like, it's so humbling, but it's so exciting. And it's like, there's always something else. There's always something better. There's always something bigger. There's always, it's cool. It's really cool.
What is that for you? What are the things above you that you look up to and try to receive guidance from?
Honestly, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
For one, and this is immediately the first thing that comes to my head, is from God. As a believer myself, at the moment, I don't identify with any sort of religion, like Christianity or Mormonism or anything like that, just because I feel like there's a lot of fault in it. But like, definitely, like, crucial core part of who I am is believing in Christ, and so that is one big one. Another one is just knowledge that's put out there, reading lots of books. I love reading books, and that is huge. You can learn so much. Even going to school, like getting this education, every single day I'm learning new things, which is really cool. And then a third one would be mentors. I can think of two, Jeff and Melissa Borglund. They're actually fleshing out what I want to do with my life right now, but in like a sort of different way, which I think we've talked about before. But so they're big mentors to me, and some other people as well. And then the fourth one would just be continually new people I meet all the time. Like, that honestly is probably most shaping in a way. Or maybe that's a different category though, because that's like confronted with tons of new things, and then I go to the other ones for like guidance or clarity, or sift through it myself, if that makes sense. Okay, your turn. Go.
Of things above
things
me?
that are above you. Do you look to?
Yeah, I don't have any religious denomination, but I like what, like, Jordan Peterson says with, I try to live as if God exists. I definitely try to follow that script. Me and somebody yesterday were talking about how it's, this other thought I've had is you need to get your mind and your body in the space that your soul wants to be in.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Say that one more time.
You're doing your best when you have your mind and your body in the space that your soul wants to be in the physical time.
That's really good.
Yeah. So, and how I see that is at certain times in time and space, you need your body. And for me personally, because I can speak from experience, I guess, is at certain times, and it's easy for me to conceptualize it within the week. And so within the week, I need to be hitting some sort of heavy weights twice a week for about an hour each. And then that's my body and mind hitting this right gear that my soul feels fulfilled. And that's just one time in time and space. I guess 2 times in time and space during a week. I need that. Yeah. And then 2 times similar to that where I'm climbing, and that's fulfilling my physical part. And then I have one more like flexibility joint day or whatever. And that right now fulfills me and feeds my spirit. And then that's just for an hour. And so you have other places your body is in time and space, and the more times you can put those in other places that you like. I always come from an exercise sense, because that was like something I think I first like got competent in, and so I have a good foundation in there and feel safe in that. And so when I know that's right, I can branch out from there and do other things right, and stuff like that is being with friends and having meaningful conversations. And so we got our bodies here.
Yeah.
And at least for me personally, that's why I like sleep, is to try to recharge better, for one, to be ready for the gym, but then also for a conversation so that we can talk about these things in depth and I don't feel fatigued within half an hour. And so that's when you do that well. Like yesterday I got a good night's sleep and then felt well ready to hit weights and stuff like that, and then everything feels in alignment almost like that. And so that's where you're really firing well, and that's where there's that individual aspect where different things at different times are the things you need. And so I guess that's one thing. I guess I look at people I idolize and I don't want to be 100% like them, but there's definitely at least, like, depending on the person, 10 to 20% of things I do want. And so I take those things and I try to distill them into what actually it is that means to me, and then do that within my week, because that's about as far as my brain can handle, you know. But then what you do in week 1 can look very similar to what you do in week 2. So there is some of a mirror at play, but then at the same time...
Yeah.
You're good. But then at the same time, you can still draw out these abstractions from the people above you. And there's many people, thankfully, for the internet that I can watch and listen to and look up to and compare as well, which is very helpful to see what is actually truthful and what actually aligns with me and everything like that. And then for me, like, looking at people that have done things wrong has been almost has been as helpful as people that are doing it right.
Yeah.
I try to get my head in the space of people that are doing it right, but like I take some notes, honestly, from like people I see on sometimes a day-to-day basis that are like, I don't want my life to resemble anything you have set up to be. And that just means I haven't found any parts in your life that I don't think I need. And I guess, like, you see, I don't need validation in that, but you see validation in that when they seem unhappy, you know, things like that. And I feel like if they made different decisions sooner in life, they would have been happier now. And that's where I'm like thinking about your roommates. Let's get out. Let's tackle this now while we're young and healthy and have the spring in our step. And I don't know them, so I'm not saying they're not doing that, but let's always try to do that, you know? And so, yeah, looking up to people that have done things wrong and looking up to people that have done them right. And a lot of those people are living, whether they like it or not, as God exists, you know? Not even to be religious, but just as something higher than them exists, you know, as the correct word to speak into existence at that point exists, you know? Those people I definitely see are doing it right, you know?
Yeah, and again, going back to like learning from people who do things wrong or from situations, that's why I think free will is so important. Like, just, I mean, imagine if the world didn't have free will. You wouldn't have any of that. Like, it's crazy to think about that. And you can learn so much from mistakes, from other people's mistakes, from people who continually make those mistakes. Like, yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's the tricky part, you know, is like, what do you do? I don't know, like, what do you do? Because then that means there's people that are going to have crappy lives that you get to learn from, you know?
Well,
do you know what I'm getting at?
I totally know what you're getting at. Oh, those are my friends. That's sweet. 100%. that's why you can't let them, you know, like it is so cruel to see someone who's struggling, or to see someone who's dealing with something, or getting handed a terrible playing card, you know, and to just like walk past and be like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's where that's where you just have to have a caring heart. It just has to come in to play.
Well, I think we should help people, but what I'm getting at is that if we wound up in this environment where the vast majority, let's say 90% of people, are good, quote unquote,
Okay.
then there's not a abundance of bad to learn from. And we're almost robbed of those learning experiences of seeing people that are in a state of bad. So it's this tricky question of, is it, like, I don't necessarily believe it, but is it good in a sense to have people that have been robbed or have been bad, because then you can take that as a lesson and an example, you know? Because, like, in order to light a room, it has to be dark at some point.
Yeah. I think that's something we never have to worry about personally. I think just the way that human nature is, and how many individuals we have, and how, like, I think that's something we'll never have to worry about. Because even if, I mean, I've seen so many people, right? They're living like the perfect life, like, or the perfect life for them, you know, and they're great. It's doing great. They're in a job that they love, all those types of things, and then immediately they can switch and go downhill at any second. So just because you're good doesn't mean you're always going to be good. And I use good very loosely. That's just a term to put into play. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a utopian world where it's like, oh yeah, that would be bad. But personally, I think on Earth today, here where we are, I don't think that's gonna be something we have to worry about.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think I agree with that. Yeah.
At least not in our generation. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess life is always going to have its tragedies. We're always going to have our natural disasters and our illness.
Right.
And our death.
Things you can't control.
But there are those things that we can control, like you were saying, that I think doing our best now to be prepared for them, like something we keep circling, I at least keep circling back to, is what's best, because like you said, at some point we're going to get robbed of something, or somebody we know is going to meet the fate of tragedy. Yeah, so
that's why I'm so excited right now about what you said about, what was it, bringing your mind and your body into a place where your soul can, am I saying this correctly?
I think so. I forget exactly what I said.
Oh, it was so good. It was like bringing your mind and your body into a place where your soul can be like happy or free or something like that.
Where your soul is connected.
That I feel like is the best we can do, because I mean, we can feel it, right? Like, you know, like when you get done what you need to get done, you feel that. When you go climbing, you feel that. For me, we think very similarly, except for I'm very much more fluid in my schedule and a lot more spontaneous, and that's where my soul is happy. So like, but like, you can feel it. Like when you're with good people, you feel your soul happy. When you're climbing, you feel your soul happy. When you get something done, like, that's why you need that. That's such a great way to say it, because if you're seeking that continually, then you'll be prepared for those.
Yeah. So,
yes,
why do you sometimes get into these depressive states?
That is a hard question. To be honest, it comes out of nowhere. And I think it's because, for one, I can't just fix things immediately, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know, so if something comes up like it has or has in the past or things like that, people know. Like, things come up, you have to deal with them. You can't just fix that immediately and be okay. So even if you're continually working through it, that's kind of the best you can do in those moments. And keeping that good mindset is the best you can do, to be honest.
So is it like patience you struggle with?
No, it's patience that is needed, I think, or not struggle with. So like these like depressive states just come sometimes when life also hits you pretty hard, you know?
Okay.
And I don't think they're bad unless you sit in them. You know, do you agree? Like if you're actually sitting there and you're like, fine, you know, like this and that, or be pessimistic, or I'm just gonna lay here, or whatever, like you'll have a couple days like that. Like that's human. I know I do, which is what we're talking about. Like I'll have like a week where or sometimes in the past it's been longer, but I've learned to not let it dwell on that on me for that long.
Yeah.
But that's just human. That's something you have to work through and understand. And I think it's one of those failures, or not a failure. It's one of those experiences where you grow strength from it, you know? So I don't think it's bad. I think it's healthy, because I mean, if you were always feeling happy, again, you can't ever shine light on something that isn't dark in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to keep pushing. You just got to keep pushing, and then you'll get out of them and you'll learn from it.
I have two thoughts.
Yes, go.
One is, when you mean don't sit in it, maybe does it look like to you, like if something was at play where you wake up, you don't feel like, let's say, doing an assignment, but you kind of push through that mental block and still get it done, and that would be an example of not sitting in it and letting it get the best of you, right? So you still go about your normal responsibility as if nothing's happening, even though there might be a slight sad filter to it. Is that about how it goes down?
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's like two sides to it.
Yeah.
I think when you're in those times, one thing that is crucial is pushing through those tough moments and being able to get things done, which is really tough, but it really makes the difference. It really does. So like pushing through that assignment. But then I think there's the other side where it's like, okay, like I need to change something, or I need to deal with this. And that's where, like, yesterday I was like gonna come here actually and study with some friends and get work done, because I had a lot of work to get done. But I knew I was like, I need to go, you know? So I went for a long walk, and then I took a drive. And that's something that's, I don't always have time for, but I made sure I had time for it, and it really helped. And then I was able to come back later after dinner, get my work done. And so you have to recognize that there are obligations and normalcy things that you need to work through, but at the same time you have to be able to let yourself, and I think this is what I meant by also don't sit in it, you have to be able to let yourself get out of it. So sometimes people are like, oh, okay, I finished my assignment, and then they're gonna spiral into an anxious thought process, or stay up in their room, or anything like that, you know? And that's where you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna just sit outside, or honestly, it's really small things until it becomes bigger things. Like, oh, I'm gonna shower, you know, I'm gonna change clothes, I'm gonna get outside, and then that grows into being okay. Exactly. Yeah. So it's those two aspects you have to get through.
Okay. The other thought was, and it's gonna be hard, I'm gonna do my best to articulate it.
Take your time.
But I'm trying to picture this verses almost, where we have this metaphor right now of like, you can't have light without dark, or the good with the bad, right? But that's like something that's one thing, you know? But then if you look on the other side, there's a little bit of a different idea. Not the other side, but I want to like take that metaphor and then put it versus this metaphor, which is like something that's, you can always look below yourself or above yourself for somebody higher or lower than you. So it's a little bit different than the better.
Okay.
Because what I'm trying to picture is like, you get in the room and it could either be good or bad, depending on which way the switch is flipped, you know? Or like, I come again from like a fitness background, so it's like you could be in the gym neither have a week of training under your belt or 5 years of training under your belt and be good.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're this person with a week of training, and this is almost the other side of the verses, if you have a week of training under your belt, you still have more training than somebody that has a day of training under your belt.
Yeah.
So you can always, I guess what it is the switch is plastic. It's moldable in the sense that you can take it to anything where, and the day person is still has more obviously than somebody that's never went to the gym, and somebody that's never went to the gym might be better than somebody that's never heard of a gym. So you can always dig deeper, I guess. And I don't know where I'm going with this thought, but that's what it made me think of, is like, I feel like these things, I want to try to pit them against each other, and maybe I just need to think about them a little bit more. But like, because what I was saying earlier is, and you corrected me a bit, where it's, we don't necessarily need to have people in a bad state of being to learn from them, because we're always going to be having to battle these battles. And so I think what you were kind of getting at and describing was we're always going to have people below us that we can help, and then those people below us are always having people above them, and there's always somebody somewhere that's better or worse off than you.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's, I don't know, the better course or better thought to think of things, where instead of waking up in the morning and feeling sad and depressed, and the room in your soul is dark, instead just think there's somebody else somewhere else in the world, that's somebody that woke up just with me, that has a darker room. And at the same time, so praise to that. And then at the same time, there's somebody somewhere else that has a slightly lighter room that woke up into this morning as well. And so let's go pursue that. And so that gives you something to run away from and run towards.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, I think that's a really good point, and it actually leads me in to be able to talk about this. Something that I've learned is having that, but having ways to remind yourself of that, right? So I have like specific music, or specific people, or specific movies. Movies are really important, that like I'll watch and I'll be like, wake up call. Oh my gosh, like let's go tackle the world, and it helps me.
Does that give you perspective then onto that lighter 100%. Room?
100%. Not necessarily the lighter room. For me, it's like the darker room is what I get perspective from. And I think it's different for other people, because like I don't know.
Like you find strength in seeing those weak points in people.
Yeah, because I personally, I'm not the type of person to pursue a lighter room, if that makes sense. I'm the type of person to be like, there are darker rooms, let's get a move on. Let's bring these people out, or help myself,
think,
Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
For me personally,
no, it
that's
does.
how I think.
I think that's one of those things that like we're either speaking or thinking the same thing, but it manifests differently, because like, I don't know, yesterday I saw it was raining and I got fired up. Because what went in my head, I was like, it's raining right now, and there's going to be now more people today than on a sunny day that are going to stay in bed. And that fired me up to go get some and like hit the gym harder and do everything a little bit better.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
And it's weird because you're like getting strength from others' weakness. But I think like when it's channeled into productive things, then what else is there to do, I guess, like if you get strength from seeing, like if you get strength from watching motivational videos, then great. But that's not me, I guess. I never tended like that. I like to see people down and bad
Interesting.
And you
Yeah,
need,
yeah.
and I mean, I would like listen to an expert to figure out how to do a lift properly, let's say hypothetically. But then like, there's something fun and like, I don't know if fun is the right word, but like seeing somebody that can't do it, but then you can do it, you know? And I think what the trick is even if that's like how it's been, because now you know something more than somebody else, it doesn't make you better than them. It just gives you the ability to teach them if they're willing.
Yeah.
I think that's where it goes.
Yeah.
I think you can identify that you're stronger than somebody, but that's where we get to that leadership position where you don't abuse your power, you use it to teach something to somebody. You know?
Something good, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's okay to get strength from people that are weak, because that fortifies you a little bit better to maybe open up your gates and lend them a hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I got two thoughts. First, I think it's really important to say, like, you can gain strength from someone who is weak now, because that gives them even words are so powerful, you know? So even just adding that one word shows, like, oh, they're not going to be weak forever. Like, give it a year, they could probably bench more than you. You know,
and I
that
get fired up when you see like a progress video.
Yeah,
that fires me up
those are
for sure.
epic. Or like in a movie when it does like montage. I love that.
Yeah.
But then the other thought is, you could even take this idea that we're talking about and put it into that balance model that we had earlier, you know?
Okay.
So like, if you're struggling with it, but then you see someone who the room's darker and you get fired up and you know, like kind of how we work, that's great. But if you don't have the balance of then using that fire to look to the lighter rooms and gain and keep stepping up, then you're kind of just staying in that spot, you know? If that makes sense. So like I'll take, okay, so my anthropology class is actually a really good example of this. So, someone's in the dark about something, but then this anthropology class brought our attention to like this specific crisis in like Mexico, or there was one in New York, or things like that, right? And you kind of get fired up, but if you don't do anything with that, or even it doesn't even have to be for that crisis, but in your own life,
the potential energy is lost.
It's lost, yeah. So yeah, all the ideas are connected. So you have to have that gradient and that balance to understand, to keep moving between them. Yeah, because it's kind of like a cycle.
What I think of is that's the power that lights up the computer, but you still need that hardware and software to run the applications. So you still need that information from somebody that was in a lighter place than you, that you learned from. Yeah. And then the hardware of the equipment necessary, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the environment necessary as well. That might be a better way to say it.
True. Oh, yeah. That's good. That's really good.
These are all kind of circling back to each other, actually.
I know.
Nicely.
It's fun.
I thought I was getting way too in the air, but I think we're connecting these well. Yeah.
Being in the air is fun, too.
Yeah.
Then, like, you can leave one thought, and then, boom, you find a whole new thought to dive into.
Yeah, but then sometimes it's unreachable. And so trying to connect at least some of it down to earth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because then it's I guess to try to bring a little bit more of this to ground is like, because it's like poetic and fun, but it doesn't help anybody that's struggling right now to hear, put your body and mind into the place your spirit wants to be. Like, that's just nonsense to somebody that's not in the place they want to be. At least that's how I would hear it 5 years ago. So I guess like maybe trying to build these out better would be more helpful. Okay, and so in the sense, it's what it is that, and I don't know if this is going to work, what I'm going to try to pursue, but like, whether you like it or not, well, you do have some choice over that, but your body's here, you know? And so, and sometimes, man, where do I want to go with this? And sometimes it's going to occupy space, whether you like it or not. And attached to that body is a mind that is always going to be taking information, and how I've thought about it is just programming from your environment. Just in general, people tell you things that will program you, you know. There are micro reinforcements when you talk to them. And so if you find yourself living in your life right now where you're with a group of people and you have this almost habit formation where it's programmed into you that maybe like every time on your shift breaks at work, you guys pop a smoke. That's just a micro habitation by their own programming, you know, and you would ruffle some feathers and break that programming if you said no once in a while, you know, but maybe, and it's all hypothetical because it would be easier if we were talking to somebody directly, you know, but I think one thing I really like that I heard in the last couple of weeks is we're all getting programmed. It's just whether you like what programming's entering you at this point. And it's easier to assess this the younger you are, given that you have enough introspection within you because you've lived less to receive less programming. So this would be easier to do at 15 years old than at 40 years old. Especially if you haven't self-assessed yourself for the first 40 years, which would be pretty devastating, honestly. So this is why, to me, it's hitting it as early as you can, because the later you go, not only do you get older, but then the files you have to sort through get bigger as well. And I guess that just is me trying to put more emphasis on do it now and don't wait on it. But what I'm getting at is that we're all getting information implanted into us, whether we like it or not, and we do it to other people. Like this isn't like a conspiracy or all. We're just always interacting and we're always taking things in. Yeah. And so it would serve you best, I think, if you just run through run through all of your programs in you right now and just ask yourself, why do you do that? If you can remember, where did that come from? And is that serving you? And if it's not serving you, and what you could use to serve you is if it feels good, that's a fine compass for right now, you know, that'll work for now. And if it doesn't feel good, that might be something that doesn't feel good on either your mind or your body or your soul. And I don't know, maybe within the last year, I finally like understood what my soul was, you know, like to kind of connect this. Like when I was in high school, I never had heartburn, or at least I didn't know. And so I never knew what feeling to connect heartburn to. And so when one of my friends told me I have heartburn, I like could not sympathize with them at all. It's like if certain colors you never connected a word to. And so you're just missing that connection and that ability to relate to somebody else. You know, it was just like the word heartburn and somebody describing the feeling I never heard for the first, 15 years or whatever of my life. So that was a program I never was fed. And so then when I was met with that from a friend, I had no ability to relate to them at all because I maybe had the hardware, which was my brain, but I didn't have any software to run what that feeling is like. If they told me about feeling sad or depressed, I definitely knew what that was like at that time, you know, because I heard about that word and what it meant to certain people, and they fed me their programming of what depression is for them, you know, or what sadness is for them. But so there's certain words that I might have used right now that don't make any sense to you, and so that just kind of comes with experience because you understand, you get these programs in, and then it kind of colors these words better so we can relate. Just like you were kind of fed different programming on what joy means to you, and I never really heard the word joy at all in my life. We just used different words, but we're still using them to represent different states of reality. You know, we still, meaning and duty for me and joy and happiness for you, it was still representing a similar almost action into the world. But the programming we were fed around those words and how they related to life itself were different, you know? So that's how that kind of looks out. And so I would say just go through all these words, and some of the words I'm using, you might not even have a basis for, and that's bad in the sense that you have nothing but good, where you can kind of fill that at your own pace and try to color what it does mean to have a soul, I guess. Because that was something I never had a question posed to me, even to this day, but like I guess I've heard it more consistently, and it referred to a little bit more lately, that I started to think about it, I guess. So think about what it means for you to get your body in alignment and your mind. And what I mean by alignment is things feel good. And it's hard to say what good means, but it's just, that's where I think these things get tricky, and it's hard to teach back down to people. And the more I think we talk about it and think about it, the easier it would be to probably tell somebody. But like, for me, the word is alignment, I guess. Is that what you feel when things are hitting their correct stride? If that makes sense? Is that what word comes up for you when like you're hitting everything right in the day, and your body, mind, and soul are in the right places?
I would say fulfillment.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say fulfillment.
Yeah.
But definitely same idea here.
Yeah. See, yeah, that's the fun and tricky thing with language, is like these words we're using are different, but they're representing similar things. Yeah. And so, because like fulfillment is the same thing of like sometimes I'll say my cup is full when I'm feeling really good, you know? And that's the same thing of like everything in that cup is in alignment, where it's all stacked nicely together, is to try to connect those things. And so, yeah. That's the best, I guess, way to try to bring it back down. That's a little bit more tangible for people, I guess.
Yeah. I have such a cool thought about that, but we'll leave that that's a whole new line. So bringing it back. Number one, go through what you've been programmed. Go through all your thoughts, decipher them. Then from there, number two, control what you're being programmed. Yeah. That's the next step.
Do your best to try to develop those lenses to understand what's getting fed to you.
And just who you surround yourself with, what you do. Yeah.
And it might sound like you want to surround yourself with everybody that thinks like you, but no, that's not the actual right way. If anything, you learn more from surrounding yourself from people. Like, I've gone out to the bars many times, and now I've gotten a good basis of like, this isn't for me. And I've spent it among people that don't think like me, in that sense of what they would want to choose to do with their nightlife or their free time or anything like that, you know? So it's that it gives you perspective on a different way of living, you know? Yeah.
I think my closest friends are so different from me in so many ways. But then we have a couple underlying things that are not even like hobbies, like, oh, we both like this, but like, wow, we both value this, you know, or we both see the world or people this way, or things like that. But yeah, when people, diversity is so good. So good. Yeah.
And maybe it's different. Like maybe just for how I'm wired, the lens is the right way to like filter things out for people. And for somebody else, it's a little bit different, you know, because things are so complex.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think a lens is a good way to put it. I think it is.
Yeah. And it's like helpful too, because like it's, for me, it gives a little bit of security, because I can speak from a lens and it not be core to my identity, but then still get like this idea and convey it out there. Like when we were talking earlier, I kept saying this is from a Christian perspective, because I'm not Christian, so it's not my perspective. It's just the things I've heard. And so, and then it makes things a lot more interesting, because then it's not necessarily you and me talking. We can talk through different perspectives that maybe we don't hold, but we can use as different ways to try to get different. I mean, perspective is like, if you have like a 3D art installation, getting perspective on it is like physically moving your body to a different angle, because you see a different colors and shades and whatever the piece of art is, you see a different sight of view from it.
Yeah.
And so even if it's not where you're standing necessarily, standing where somebody else is gives you that view to look on.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And even like if you're standing in the center of that art gallery, if you don't move around, how do you have a perspective?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can't, because you only are seeing one side of it, one thing. You got to move around to have a perspective on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's say it's 100 square feet. Moving 3 feet to the right to your friend that you've had for 20 years. Yes, you're moving around, but you're not actually getting out there and getting the new perspective. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a difference between just stepping 1 foot to the right and then actually walking 50 feet to somewhere else in the room and seeing, and it could blow you away. Like, that's why it's scary, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what gets people, but then you get to understand that there's other things out there, and there's something, and that's why, like, as we're to connect it back, there's other people to help support that and fill that role, so it's not lonesome. It's something that you go out and hopefully you can have a buddy along, and they're hopefully more experienced, you know, like when I got into climbing, it wasn't just me getting into climbing, it was my buddy getting me into it, you know. Yeah. So yeah.
It's good. Yeah. That's true. My buddy also got me into climbing. Yeah. Well, okay, no, actually, my mom did at first, but never consistently. It was always like, oh, I love this, but I don't know how to be consistent in it. And then a friend came along.
Nice.
Yeah. It's good times.
Oh, it's a lot of.
We're fine. I just checked.
No, you're good. It's a lot of deep stuff.
There's a lot of deep stuff. It's fun. It's good thoughts.
I'm gonna pause.
I'm gonna pause. Okay.
I'm gonna get my water that I left in the bathroom.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you should grab that. Let me quickly respond to this.
Text your friend. No rush. Do you have anything going on tonight?
Yeah. But just like casual stuff.
Okay.
With my roommates and my friends, calling friends, investing in people, but also half of it is like study time. So.
Did you say investing in people?
Yeah, like investing in time with people.
Investing time.
Yeah, putting in time with others. I have to make sure it's on correctly.
Yeah, they're kind of weird covers.
They're so nice. They're so nice.
I got a third mic too.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exciting.
So we could have 3 people if we wanted to.
Oh, that would be so fun. That'd be so fun. Have you done any, like, where you let other people talk and you just kind of, like...
Let it go?
Yeah, let it go, where, like, you use the equipment, but you give it to, like, a family or rent it out? Have
No,
you done that yet?
Okay, no.
Okay.
I want to start that when I get, like, a camera.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's a video aspect, and it's a little more professional. And I think I'm going to wait on when did I tell you about my, like, editing laptop I have coming in?
No.
Okay.
You got a new editing laptop?
Yeah. Well, the editing application I was using, like, updated, and so my computer I was using was obsolete. So I had to do it by necessity. And then this morning, actually, when I opened my laptop I've been using for 4 years now, half the screen's pink now. So I was like, okay, good thing I bought this thing already, because it is going out. So
sad.
I need to get the, like, editing space in order, because then I would like to cut these up, and then I want to get a camera, which I think I just need, like, a cord to it, and the camera itself, cord to this, and then it'd be set and ready to go, and then I could get a 4th mic, and then it'd be ready mic and headphones, and that'd be ready to go, because I think this would definitely have another dynamic to it once video's applied to it, you know. So yeah, but just taking pace to it. The laptop's going to take a while, which bothers me, because the chips and stuff like that I think are in high demand. They said, like, months is what the website told me.
Are you going to be able to do anything without a computer?
Well, like,
don't you work on that a lot?
My little one works. The screen's just going out. which just
See?
makes me worried.
Yeah.
But like I can't edit. I'm just like using a cheap program that extracts this, puts the two audio tracks together, and then I can post from there.
Oh.
So I can post the long form stuff, but I can't really cut from there too well.
Rough.
So
Okay.
that's why I'm waiting on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So that's
makes
what's going
sense.
on.
Because these do tend to be pretty long.
Yeah, because I would like to like dress up, like if I had a client, let's say, I would like to dress it up and like be able to present it to the family so it looked professional. You know, it wasn't just like a raw audio clip, because if I'm picturing the crowd correctly, it'd be people that might not be tech savvy, and so they would want something that's very straightforward, that they just open on their computer and hit play and then works, so that they can show people the little conversation they made with their family.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
I think that's
going to be a bit in the future, just with how slow some things are getting in, but that's okay. That's okay. I can still record, which has been nice, and I was like running through all the stuff and synthesizing it and converting it and everything this morning, which is just like, it takes a while.
Yeah,
these are long and stuff like that, and then I'm posting it on, I think, the long form stuff on at least 4 or 5 platforms, just so it's out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have it on? Where do you have it on?
YouTube.
This is a good plug.
You're on Spotify right now. Your episode's on Spotify.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to that.
The Spotify's tough because I'm still trying to figure out the hosting.
Oh.
Because you have to pay like per hour basically. But I got the first 2 hours free. So like our hour and a half is up and like another one is up. And so I think when I'm fully making the clips, I'm going to take down both of those and just put the little segments that are at most 20 minutes. So those will still get out, but they won't be as long, so I don't go over that time budget they give me. So
I didn't know
all these things are so
that.
complex.
Yeah, for real. Oh my God, I'm on Spotify.
Like I could pay like a monthly membership and like they'll host it for me and stuff like that, but I need this to like, I don't know, before I get onto like paying subscriptions, Yeah. I need to like everything else to start working
Solidify
out, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this was already a pretty good upfront charge, so I don't want to go overboard on subscriptions and stuff like that are reoccurring.
Yeah.
But like once I get the 2 I did yesterday up, there will be 5 episodes up on YouTube. I'm putting on everything I can. So Odyssey, if you've heard of that platform, Rumble, Facebook.
I did see the other 2 on YouTube.
And
Substack. I saw the 3 that are Substack. I've never heard of any of those, except Facebook.
Odyssey and like Rumble are like trying to compete with YouTube, and they're taking like the free speech approach, I guess. Just to be apolitical about it. It's just another platform to me to push to put stuff on, just another audience. So that's why at the very least, but at the same time, it's good to diversify what you got. So if hypothetically YouTube went down, I still have 4 other platforms, Substack's where it started out as like a writer's platform, but it's like a blogging network almost that's getting popular for like independent journalism.
That's cool.
But they've added a feature where you can post audio clips. And so I started a newsletter that was the podcast audio stuff.
Yeah.
And they, within the last month, released the mobile version of Substack for Apple. And then so soon it should come out on iOS. And I think on those you can download things for free. So once the one comes out on iOS, then these audio episodes could be downloadable for free on those platforms, which is huge, because the only other way would be to do like a Spotify premium or a YouTube premium. So that'll be nice once that's fully up and running, because it'll be more open to people to use. Yeah. And then I'll cut up the clips and post those to different channels as well. And there's a whole like network of things to kind of put information out on.
Wait, so you don't have Spotify Premium?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you survive? how are you breathing?
No, I do. But like for somebody to get into Spotify and download things, they would need Spotify Premium or YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
To download things.
Gotcha. I never thought about that.
Yeah. I haven't thought about a lot of these things until I got into it.
That's true. I feel like that's a pattern with so many things. Stuff you never think about. And then you're like, oh,
This is more complex.
This is crazy.
Like, just like I take, this records 2 audio tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take those 2 audio tracks and I normally put them in my good editing software, but I put them in this cheap thing I found.
Yeah.
And then from that, I can export those as 1 audio track. And then I take that, and then if it's YouTube, I have to generate a thumbnail.
Oh,
and so I make a thumbnail, and I'll put like the podcast number and everything like that on it. And then I found this website that will link the audio with this thumbnail as the video. So then I've been taking that, and then that's what goes up on YouTube. Gosh. And then certain platforms accept only certain aspect ratios for the thumbnail. Yeah. So then I found a different converter for said thumbnail to be at the right aspect ratio for other thumbnails. So I have to convert that, and then it goes up, and then it's a whole ordeal. It's a whole ordeal. But then it's all up. So,
and it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. That's funny. I don't think I've ever had to really do any... my brother's way into stuff, not this type of stuff, but editing and uploading. He's been doing that since, God knows when, like so long. I've never had to mess around with anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's nice. I don't know if I'd be very good at it. Actually, that's not true. When I had my marketing job, I did that. And that's when I realized I'm not good at it. Because I was like, wow, this is taking me too long. It could take someone else 10 minutes, you know?
This connects back, though. Was that something that didn't align with you, or something you had no experience in that if you got better at, you would like?
Yeah. So it started out with no experience.
Yeah.
And I realized definitely by the end of it, I was like, wow, I actually am like way better at this now. Because I had a friend who had this, they had to create a website for like one of their like final projects, and I was able to like actually help them do it. So I was like, dang, like I now have that skill set, but it still doesn't align with me, because even though I can do it, I'm not like great at it. Like, it's not something that I would go in confidently and be like, yeah, I'm a marketer, you know? Like, I know other people and have seen other people and have worked with other people who it's just kind of like wired in them, you know? Like, they're really good at it. They can work it out fast. And that's just not how my brain works. So I don't think it aligns with me. It's nothing I would ever do. But I was in it long enough to have the skill set and the experience, which is really handy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, definitely I don't align with marketing at all. I'm just not good at it.
Yeah. I won't be a professional editor, but I did like learning the processes of editing video and film. Even just like the basic stuff of like snipping things and then deleting them, and doing that in a quick way where everything slides correctly and runs together well, and then cutting it right where, like, if I recorded me just by myself speaking on something, taking out like all the ums and pauses and splicing that together. So a 20-minute recording was actually just a 5-minute recording, and you took away all you trimmed the fat from it, basically. So that was pretty fun. And then if I got back to the professional suite of stuff, I was going to start like playing around with the After Effects and all that jazz, which gets very complicated.
Meta. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
that's exciting. It's like tapping into a whole new world.
It is, yeah. It's like picking up a new sport or something like that, where you're trying to learn all the new things and go through tutorial videos, and how-tos and tips and tricks, and yeah. Yeah.
Do you play any musical instruments? I know I've probably asked you this before,
Clarinet.
but you do. Okay, yeah, and you played that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That I think is so fun. Learning new instruments. Mm-hmm. It's another whole new world, and it's so fun.
Do you play anything?
I play guitar, and I'm learning the bass right now.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I know somebody who plays, I always get it wrong. It's either oboe or bassoon. I think it's oboe.
I love the oboe. I really love the oboe.
Is oboe a woodwind?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it's oboe.
Yeah. It looks like a weird clarinet.
Yeah, I think it's oboe.
Yeah.
I think this was the person I was telling you that was playing in the Fort Collins band.
Oh, yeah. But that's cool. That's really cool. One of the kids that I work with, has a performance on Friday,
Hmm.
and it's gonna be so cute.
What
I'm
kind
gonna
of
go see.
performance?
It's like out in Fort Collins or something, and it's like for his they're like modern band, I think is what it's called, and he's playing the ukulele.
Nice.
It's gonna be great. I love it. I would never do that as a child, or I had to. I was forced to, but if I had a choice, I would never be in front of a crowd.
Really?
So much respect to the kids that are like that.
Do you think it still like made you better though, even
Yeah.
though you didn't like it?
Yeah, 100%.
So then, aren't you glad you did it?
yes.
Okay.
I'm saying I would, like, back then I would never.
Oh.
Even now, honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it totally does make you better. Ooh, journal's opening.
I don't know if I have any ideas, but
Okay. Well, I have a question.
Okay.
But we might need to bring it up in the next podcast because it'll go into a really long tangent.
let's hit it. Do you have time? Do you have anything to get to after this?
I think we've got time.
Let's hit it.
I'm gonna tell my friend Nina that we'll get dinner together at like 5:15 or 5:30. I'm gonna tell her 5:30. Okay. This is a. What do you think if you had to put the way that your brain works and kind of like flesh it out into an object or a thing, what would it be? So I'll give you some examples.
This reminds me of your superpower question.
I love these questions. Okay, I'm gonna give you some examples. So like my friend, she says that when she like thinks in her brain, it's like sticky notes that come up. She can't like control her thoughts kind of thing.
Whoa.
So she like is like, oh, I gotta do this. Oh, rip it off, move this one, and then it just keep coming up, right?
Okay.
But then there's like one of my other friends who totally compartmentalizes, and she like it's like when she like thinks about her brain as a thing, it's like a room, and to the left are doors with a ton of filing cabinets, and there's all like set up like that, you know. Or like my other friend was like, he sees his as like a city, and he like runs into each building as a different area, and there's signs everywhere of like good thoughts, and like, does that make sense?
Mhm.
Kind of like fleshing your
Yeah.
brain out into
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So what's mine?
Yeah, what's yours? And it can be super like, because mine's not super tangible, but I know it is what exactly it is.
Yeah,
so
mine's not tangible either.
that's okay.
I know of the like room one,
Mm-hmm.
and I've tried to like, I don't know, exercise that into me, and I need to put more time into it to even know if it's something that I could incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. But like to go over what that is, it's like you imagine a house that you've probably physically been in, and then when you walk in, you can set your ideas down in each individual room,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good way to like not forget things if you don't have a place to write them down.
Mm.
And so I thought that was a helpful tool if I was ever in a state like when I'm in the sauna, like I try to think a lot, like I might go tonight even, try to think a lot, and I usually generate like at least 2 to 3 ideas that I want to write down. And so what I have been doing is just like run back through them. Like I was like, oh, number 1's this, number 2's that, number 3's that. All right, set, think about something else. And then after a couple, like it's just something to meditate, circle back to.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I do in the sauna. That's actually real that I do. I've been trying the room thing where like I go to my dining room and that number idea 1's there.
Wow.
I go into my bedroom. I've been trying to like exercise that, but the muscle isn't there in me yet. And I don't know if it's even possible,
Mhm.
but so it's something I'm going to have to get back to you with almost.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess what I connect it to is like a highway maybe, where I only have maybe like 2 roads, maybe 3 sometimes, where, and it's something where I think like, I'd have to put more thought into this, so this might not be accurate, but I think like the right lane, you know, usually the slower lane,
Right.
is something that's like I think I like whatever I connect most things to it of like what's in my ear in the moment. Like when we talk about your friends, I don't use like music as a way to like cope or like handle my anxiety. I like use it as a way, well, for one, to get information in or to like get a vibe going in me, but like because I've like made sure that it was an anxiety thing where like I do something mundane for like 3 hours and no music just to make sure that like I wouldn't worry myself to death in those 3 hours to test myself, you know. And then I realize, oh, I just get like bored, but not even bored where like I even like try to like fight myself or something like or fight somebody else to get something interesting. I just like everything gets stale, you know. So I know it's not an anxiety thing, which is good to know, you know, but like when I'm going to the gym and that second lane is like some sort of hard music, or when I don't know what I'm getting at, if I'm being honest with this.
Yeah, but keep going. Just keep going. We'll bring it back, you know.
But good. Like I only have like 2 lanes, and I think what I mean by that is one lane is what my body's doing and the other lane is what my ears are hearing. Okay. Maybe that's a way to kind of try to connect it back. And so my body might be in the gym, or it might be cleaning my room, or it might be working in the office, or it might be just sitting here talking to you. But then there's different things that are just running in my ear that definitely interfere with it and work with it, but are to a certain extent separated from it as well. And I think like both lanes are at max efficiency when both lanes are like I it's almost like the body mind spirit thing, but like in alignment again. So when I'm doing something mundane, I balance that out with a lot of information because it's a good time where I'm not doing a lot of things with my hands, so I can do a lot more things with my brain. Yeah. But then I just need something more peppy or hype or hardcore to be running in the right lane to just help influence me in the gym a little bit better. Yeah. And then like this, the right lane's already here because we're locked in with headphones and a mic on. And then the brain part is just I'm locking my attention onto either what I'm talking about and trying to form a coherent thought or what you're talking about and trying to lock onto what you're trying to talk about. Yeah. So I think what I'm getting at with the 2-lane thing is all I got is my body and my mind, maybe.
Wow, that's cool.
And maybe the structure of the road, if you want to take it this far, is my soul. Ooh. Okay. That's the being in the right space as we were connecting back to.
Yeah. No, that
was
really
a long answer.
Good. Yeah, but that's why I was like, this question might be a while. It's long answers. That is cool. I love that. See, I love this question because everyone has different answers. And I only ask it to like people who I'm like I know.
You know would have a good answer almost?
Not have a good answer, but I know would like appreciate the question and like think about it. Yeah. Because it's like a weird question.
I actually never thought about how I think like that.
I think
like,
about it all the time.
You just made me connect ideas I've never connected before, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the body and mind thing. Like I've always thought of myself as having like very minimal amounts of tracks of trains of thought. But I didn't really realize that I really wire it as like what my body's doing and what my mind's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good.
Like I can't even picture that sticky note thing.
I know, right?
Like I can't even understand that. That's why I write, because I have to like have physical almost sticky notes in itself in front of me. Yep.
There's some people's answers where I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But I think that's really cool.
The house idea I want to like, as if it was like a exercise I want to get better at. I want to try to massage that muscle more because like it'd be nice to have almost a third track. I think is how that would almost act. Or it's not even like, it's almost if this works for the metaphor, but like having a parking garage, you know, where like whatever's taking up that cognitive lane is, I have the ability to switch out cars with ease with having a garage next to me.
Or maybe it's like, no, keep going.
No, you go ahead.
Maybe, you know, when like people pull a house behind on a trailer, You know, have you seen that?
Okay.
You're
yeah,
like,
that's better.
you're driving your
better.
house while you're living life.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, that's the highways. And then when you stop just to think, you're in your home and you're putting stuff in your little compartments.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my little motorhome.
Exactly. Yeah. But it can be a big house because I've seen people do that. It's in the movie with the dog and then the lightning bolt on the dog. Bolt. It's in Bolt. Yeah. It's in Bolt.
Put the dog
And the
with the lightning bolt on the dog.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a good way to put it, for real.
Yeah.
I could see that with you too.
Mhm.
It makes a lot of sense.
And I don't know what I'm trying to say. But like I have made sure that I don't need these audio things to feel in my skin, I guess. It just I guess enriches what I'm doing, cuz like if I clean my room, that takes an hour. I can get through an hour podcast, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I had this very odd job at one point where people, it's so weird and strange. Like just to attempt to describe it, this was like a year or two ago. Was this pre-COVID? It must have been. From a business I never went into, connected through a family friend, I got onboarded and had like 1 hour training, and what they did was send me camera glasses.
Okay.
And they paid me to go to stores, and stores specifically that had a light bulb section,
Okay.
and go to said light bulb section and take videos and pictures of all the labels and packaging of said light bulbs.
This seems like illegal in a way, or sketchy. What were they doing with
I
that
did
info?
hours of staring at light bulbs.
No.
Yeah. And that was one of the times, like I had an 8-hour day of just staring at light bulbs.
That's exhausting.
Yeah. And
like, for real.
sometimes I would bring earbuds because it was boring. But
I can't believe it. Do you know what they were doing with that info?
I don't.
See,
I think it was like survey work. I think it was
okay.
like environmental survey work or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they were
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to find the efficiencies of these light bulbs and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's what I theorized.
That's kind of cool. Wow, you had 8 hours to look at light bulbs.
A lot, man. I traveled to so many different stores over Fort Collins and Loveland, and I even drove up to Nebraska.
Dang.
They paid for my
real?
miles and stuff.
That's actually so cool.
It was really weird. What was I getting at with this? Oh, yeah. I was in the store just staring at light bulbs for hours. Store clerks were like staring at me and everything like that. And I was like, well, let's maybe just try it without the earbuds, you know? So I did 3 hours of staring at like the most mundane thing you could do.
Yeah.
And I just felt like nothing, you know? Like fine. Like I didn't feel anxiety, but I didn't feel...
You're just in your head.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just hanging out, staring at light bulbs. That's so odd.
That is the weirdest job I think I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
But kind of cool. Like it
I still
trained
have
you
the
to, like,
camera
think
glasses too. Yeah.
That's sick. You could like spy on people.
When I remember, I bring them to like parties, and when people are on board with it, and like everybody knows, and I turn them on, and we're like passing the glasses to everybody, and so it's cool because you get to see the party from their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have some films of parties of like, it's from the person's eyes where they're just partying and playing Pong or something like that, which is actually really cool. I think like every fraternity and sorority should have these things.
Yeah.
To capture it from like a point of view perspective.
Yeah, and you can just put them on random people's heads.
And people like trade them, and
that's
as long as they don't get wet. But
that's super sick.
Yeah, like I had this clerk that was like just staring at me, like, what is this dude doing?
That's so funny.
And I was in the light bulb section for like 5 hours, and I would go eat some food and then come back.
What a day.
Yeah.
What a day in the life
and
of
I was
Bosch.
like hour 4, and it was like not bad money is why I stuck with this. Like it was better than working at like McDonald's like hourly, which is
That's
wild.
insane actually, because they pay really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can wrap this up.
Do you got a question?
I
for
do.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
real
do
quick.
it.
This guy asked me for a third time if he can help me find what light bulbs I was looking at,
Okay.
And I dead stare turn at him and I go, yeah, where are all the mops? I can't find them. Like, just totally different item. And he was like, oh, they're aisle 4. And I'm like, oh, I've been in the wrong aisle this whole time. Like, I played a joke on him the whole time.
That's impressive. You could keep a straight face.
Oh, straight face, yeah. Well, I was probably dead inside from staring at light bulbs for 4 hours.
Oh, I need a mop, actually.
Oh, where are the mops? I'm like, you're in the light bulb aisle, dude. What are you doing?
It's so good.
Alrighty. We'll wrap this up
Throw
for
it
you
at
because
me.
you got to go see your friend. Is that it? What's up? Yeah. Alrighty. The question posed to you is, if money wasn't an issue, where would you go in the world?
Can I say everywhere, or should I choose one place?
Give me your top one.
My top one. Can I do top 3? I'll give you my top 1. Actually, I'll do top 1. Right now, I'd go to the Philippines
Why?
because number 1, I have a lot of friends from the Philippines, and I think their culture is amazing, and I think that'd be really cool to actually go experience and meet their families who live back home. Number 2, luckily I had the chance to learn a lot about the some of the issues and like the general economy that is in the Philippines right now through my class.
Yeah.
I see you have a thought.
I do.
Okay. But then also it's just really pretty. Have you seen photos?
No.
Gorgeous.
Okay.
And the food, I just think it'd be so fun to experience all of that. And I could go with my friends and it'd be great. It'd be great.
My thought was the guy that was born in India I was talking to, he was talking about like different things you'd probably be interested with, like how some of the like the society structured, or like some businesses are there where like agents will get paid to send kids to different colleges, but really it's like kind of corrupt and stuff like that in that system. That's what you said that made me think of, because that you might be interested to hear
I'd be so interested.
from him. He talked about it a little bit actually on the podcast yesterday.
Well, when you post it,
yeah,
I will be all over that.
What are the others you'd want to go to?
See, other countries. I mean, I think for one, I have to say New Zealand. I just want to backpack all over it and just listen to the Lord of the Rings. That's all I want to do in life. It really is. Not the soundtrack, the audiobook, all of it. So I think that is a big one for me. And then I think the other one would be, it's tough to say, because I don't know if I'd want to go to Mali or if I'd want to go to...
Where's Mali?
It's in Africa. Or if I'd want to go to Russia.
Okay.
My question,
What is your question?
If you had to get a tattoo right now, what would it be and where would it be? I think that'll be fun.
Alrighty. Thank you, folks.
See you next time.